This is the Global Broadcasting Service, serving remote outposts since 1928.
Hi, everyone. Welcome aboard the Walt Disney World Express monorail.
Caramba, we have something really big for you today.
Welcome, foolish mortals.
Now then, hang on to them hats and glasses, because this here's the wildest ride in the wilderness.
This is the DBC Pod with Phil Schoen and Jason Dodge. Hi, friends. Welcome to this week's pod, the show for the week of March 24th, 2025. And this is our 5th anniversary. Not only is it our episode 251, we're not going to start that trend, Phil, but we have been doing this for 5 years. Congratulations to you. You've put up with me for 5 years.
Only people who have done that, I guess, is me, your wife, and your mom, or something like that.
And I've got one other friend that, for longer than 5 years at this point that's consistently been my friend over the last 5 years. Yeah, that's right. This show, we're going to talk about the shareholders meeting with Bob Iger. There's a couple little nuggets, but typically it's not something that you really find out too much about.
Yeah.
We're going to do some grading the additions to Walt Disney World since the beginning of our show. So that brings us to the glorious year of 2020 and all the fun stuff afterwards.
Yeah.
Our DBC engagement for last week was the top 5 Disney movie soundtracks. And no, you can't pick all of Star Wars. And somebody tried to do that. I've been out of Discord because I've been just all over the place.
Yeah, they were like, I forget the order, but I think it was the first person who put it in. And it was like Beauty and the Beast, Encanto, Star Wars. I'm like, you can't put all of Star Wars.
No, that does not count. You have to pick one movie, please. That's right. So, Phil, happy 5 years.
Yes.
So, one question I wanted to ask you is, looking back at everything, what is the one thing that kind of keeps you going on a week-to-week basis, showing up in your nook behind you, making Disney podcasts every single week?
Yeah, well, some weeks it's harder than others, I think, to make the time and to do it. Sometimes I'm not always in the mood, but usually once we get started, I do enjoy it. And it's just that good respite and kind of break from parenthood and all that sort of stuff in the real world, and just get to talk about, which was kind of why we started the podcast, right? The idea was just like two guys hanging out talking Disney. And I think that's what we've tried to stick to that. So,
yeah, I think we've done a good, that's why you're my podcast partner, because my answer is the same. There's some weeks where I'm like, I don't want to do a podcast. I just want to sit on the couch, drink a beer, and not move. Yet, as soon as we hit record, we end up talking for 2 hours.
Yeah.
Time, right? So we have to overcome our procrastination or laziness. I am on this is the second week in a row I've stumbled on this term. I am away. That's why you see if you're watching this, eventually I'm in a hotel room. I'm on assignment. That was the term I was looking for 2 weeks ago. I'm back to Southern Illinois. And
you gave it away. Yep. We were referring to you as an international man of mystery that you hadn't.
There's no mystery from where I am right now. But yeah, so I agree with you. I also want to say I think we're the first Disney podcast at the very least to have a Discord server, because now you're gonna give a shout out to Park Stop. And Mammoth Club has one. Everybody's now has a Discord server to start a community. I think we were the first one. That was 5 years ago.
Yeah.
So let's pat ourselves on the back for using a free service that millions of other people have been using for a very long time.
Yeah.
Okay, so you have a DVC recommend section, a segment from yesteryear.
Yeah, there were a couple things that I thought of, and then it did also hit me that this is something we used to do back in the day, so I thought it was appropriate for our 5th anniversary show. But just 2 things that came up that we don't need to debate or anything like that, but they're just some things that I think are worth a listen or worth a watch. The first thing is that the Park Stop podcast, which has Alicia Stella and our co-host, they're all about Universal and Epic Universe. They've been studying this park for longer than we've been doing a podcast, basically. And they got to go into Epic as, guests of a team member. So they put out a podcast, which is their first impressions of it. And it was kind of the exact format I was looking for, where they don't really give out any spoilers, but they still kind of talk about the flow of the park and things that impressed them and their emotions at certain parts and things to look out for and stuff like that. So it's sort of I think a really good sort of prep to listen to for anybody who has a trip coming up, but kind of wants to have some frame of reference, but not be spoiled.
Mhm.
Like, so you might not want to watch vlogs when they come out and stuff like that. This is just a podcast format. And even despite
It's
that,
a
they're,
vibes podcast. Basically.
yeah, I think like that. So I just thought they did a really good job with it. And it was the exact type of thing I was looking for related to Epic Universe. So I think if other people are looking for similar, go for that. And then the other thing, go for it.
Well, let me jump in because I listened to this for like the first 15, 20 minutes, and
it is like 2 hours long. So
yeah, it was like hour 12 or 15 of my travels on Monday, and this requires, I think, a little bit of a warning. It's not a structured podcast. It's like two friends like going crazy and being excited and being like, "This park was awesome. Here's why." And they jump around a lot of it, so it's not like it's not meticulous. And she even Alicia even warned you, like, this is just going to be like a vibe podcast, and we're just going to like hang out and talk. So if you're looking for like a metered approach to like, this is this land, this is this land, and this is how we did this, and it's like whatever. No, it's just like two people like nerding out on a thing. And if you don't know, I don't know how anybody doesn't know, but if you don't know, Alicia's been like the #1 journalist that's been like on Twitter and social media.
Yeah,
like,
and she has the YouTube channel that was doing, I don't know if it was monthly or quarterly or something like that, but she would use all of BioReconstruct's aerials and kind of talk through with all the news. And I mean, she was picking out names of things before they were originally officially released and stuff like that. So it was kind of funny. Like almost everybody who follows her was like so happy for her that she got to like go, because they were like, we don't know if we're getting an early, that sort of thing. Like we might just be there opening day or whatever. So they were very happy to have this moment. And she also like, some things she's like, I have mixed feelings about this. They're not just glowing positive about everything, but I mean, overall they enjoyed it for sure. But it wasn't like that just that everything was amazing, nothing's wrong. Like they did point out a few things. So, And then the second thing is the documentary that I got to see several months ago at last fall at a D23 event that's called Not Just a Goof. That is a documentary about the making of a Goofy movie. And one of the directors came into our chat a few shows ago, which was pretty cool. But it was officially at that session, they said they were hoping that it would come to something like Disney Plus be released. It did get announced that as part of the 30th anniversary for a Goofy movie, it will be coming to Disney Plus on April 7th. So I highly recommend it if you have any interest in a Goofy movie, or even just like, this was like the B studio that was during the Renaissance. So they were like, Disney wanted to see if they could make a movie on the cheap. And so just like how they had to make them, it was a lot about making of the movie. So if you're interested in that, even if you're not the biggest fan of specifically a Goofy movie, I think you'll really find this interesting. So highly recommend, and that is coming in a couple weeks.
All right, so quick hits. No, I don't think there's anything quick about it, but we're going to a lot of things quickly. You did a great job writing this up and summarizing, Phil. So why don't you kick it off, and I'll just throw comments.
So this past week was the annual meeting of shareholders for Disney, and Bob Iger gave a pre-recorded speech to them. Like Jason pointed out, keep in mind he's speaking to investors and shareholders. This isn't to park fans necessarily. So it's not everything he says is going to be more geared towards how are we returning profits to shareholders and things like that. So it's not always going to be things that everybody wants to hear. But they did drop a couple little nuggets that I thought was interesting. One thing is they kind of just let off with this. I don't know where it came from, but they are currently working on Coco 2. And Lee Unkrich, who worked on the original Coco, but left Pixar in 2019, is returning to direct Coco 2. They initially said it's going to be out 2029, then they dropped that, so we don't know for sure. But that was kind of interesting. I don't know. What was your reaction when you heard that Coco 2 is being made?
I mean, I don't have any reaction. I mean, it's a great movie. Friend of the show, Matt, I believe he said it's his favorite Disney movie, or one of.
Yeah.
I think it's a great movie. And right now we're going through a phase of sequels, right? And reusing IP. And I think we're just coming out of a segment of a 5-year stint where it was almost nothing but originals for the most part. So Disney's very cyclical when it comes to that type of stuff. So that doesn't surprise me. I'm just surprised it hasn't come sooner, I guess.
Yep. Yeah, I'm fine with it. There's also talk they're working on an Encanto 2 and stuff like that. I'm all for, like, as long as they have a good story and they want to do it, then go for it. Because we obviously love the characters and the worlds. I don't want them to be like forced to do it, though.
Yeah, I think more importantly, you got to have a decent story. It doesn't have to be a great story, but I think you have to be on par musically with a lot of these things. Like for example, Moana 2, The movie was fun, but the soundtrack was nowhere near as good as
Right.
Moana 1. And it sounds weird saying Moana 1. But it wasn't even in the same area. There was like some catchy songs, but nothing memorable.
Right.
Which probably goes to show that it was a TV show that got turned into a movie and they didn't do that. So as long as they plan or attempt to have like a great soundtrack like Coco did and like Encanto did, I think they'll do a fantastic job. I'm looking forward to it.
Speaking of movies that may or may not get made, Bob Iger was specifically asked about Figment, which was kind of interesting at a shareholders meeting. But he said that, he likes Figment. That's come up before. And he said he's going to ask our creative team to make some short form videos of Figment. Obviously, he's more popular than just a walk around character at our parks. I guess he forgot about the ride that's also there. And I guess he also forgot that there was supposedly a film in production, which I guess this signals that maybe that film isn't actually going to move ahead. It's just going to be shorts or something like that. So kind of mixed messaging about Figment, but at least we know he's not totally dead, I guess. But, it's a character that certainly Bob Iger sees as their value in, and they're going to do something, but it'd be nice if they maybe redid the ride.
Yeah, I think Iger's just referring to that the last thing that they added to the parks in that area was a Figment.
Yeah, I know.
Meet and greet, right? So I guess that's what he's referencing. I think it's a good thing that he doesn't know that there's a ride or forgot that there's a ride because it deserves to be forgotten and potentially updated in the future. It doesn't. I'm not surprised that there's no movie coming out because I don't understand the Figment hype. I understand it's like nostalgic for the time over the original ride and stuff like that with Dreamfinder. I get it. I just don't understand why they're so popular even to like this day. There's very rarely any characters that had just like one era of a ride, but like no supporting other media at all that has gained this popularity. So I'm willing to bet that they made some movies. It just didn't work out. They couldn't get it done. And they're just using a lot of that stuff to kind of make like little short things that, don't have a major impact on everything else.
Yep. And then the other thing he was asked about was around crowds and pricing issues, which obviously has come up before. It's been in I think it was the Wall Street Journal and stuff like that. And, he had a lot of the speaking points he's had before. Mentioned about how they're always looking at this and do want to try to find ways that people can afford to come. Mentioned that the cheapest ticket at Disneyland has stayed the same value for years, and that since he came back, they've tripled the number of days that has that cheapest ticket. I don't know if that means it went from 1 to 3 or what, but
3 to 9.
Yeah, something like that. And he also talked about, capacity and expanding capacity. He said we have more projects underway around the world than at any time in our history. We're talking a little bit about this on the WDW Magic Forums, and I was trying to list out everything that's going on, and it talked about underway or in development and that sort of thing. So I think if you include things like Disneyland Forward and stuff like that, I think this is true. So it's kind of an interesting thing. So he's definitely recognizing capacity is an issue. They need to work on it. And I think we'll find out when we go through our list of what's been added at Walt Disney World since we started the show. It's definitely not as much as was added the 5 years prior to that. It's not the same as should be added in the 5 years coming. So it's good that they're getting to that. And the other thing is just that I think it's good he's telling shareholders that they're committed to expanding at the parks. I think that's meaningful because if you say to shareholders, if we put it in SEC filings, you kind of have to stick with it. I mean, unless there's a global pandemic or something like that, you kind of have to stick to it. So,
no, I'm with you on that. I mean, a lot of people want to nitpick what Iger says and kind of go a little overboard, listen to every single word he says, and try to put meaning behind it. I think it's very important. Like for broadly, projects underway means projects that are about to be built, that are permitted, and projects that are being designed at WDI behind the scenes for future development. And there's a lot going on, and I constantly engage with people on Blue Sky or message board somewhere that oh, the parks are under development. They don't know what they're doing. WDI stinks. When I'm like, what about the cool stuff that they're doing in Tokyo? Yes, Disneyland may be paying for it, but WDI is designing it and they're implementing it. You got all the stuff in Paris that's ongoing. Like there's some people forget about there's other parks other than Disney World and Disneyland in California and in the companies involved in all of those projects. Do we really want to get involved? Like the word, you have capacity in here. Where do you fall under the whole debate? Because it constantly comes up no matter where you are, that Encanto, or like let's say Cars Land is just a replacement, it's not an expansion. Do we ever want to get involved with that kind of language or something right now, or is that kind
There's
of
so many different ways to look at
it?
it because there's like obviously whether you're expanding the footprint of the parks or just redeveloping it is different. If you're going from a low capacity ride to a high capacity ride, right? Like, Encanto is going to have probably will be able to handle 3 times as many people per hour than Primeval World did and things like that. So it's like you're definitely adding capacity. It's not always an expansion of the parks, although I think some of the things are like Monsters Inc. That's the coasters brand new. Tron was brand new, like fully added. Um, so I don't know. It's hard to get, but they're definitely adding things. And then obviously also just if something's more of a draw, you have people more in the queue, which takes them away from other areas and frees up areas around the other
Capacity
parts of the park. So
utilization.
yeah,
I mean, I think that's where a lot of people kind of fall. It's like, oh, Rivers of America, you've got Tom Sawyer Island in the boat. You're replacing that with Cars Land and Key Ride. That is, they're zeroing each other out, right? Let's ignore for the fact whether or not you think that Rivers of America should be replaced, but let's just look at one for one. Even if the theoretical throughput of a riverboat in Tom Sawyer Island is higher than a Cars attraction plus a little kiddo ride that goes along with it, the actual used capacity for those things is completely different.
yeah,
People are going to be walking up to the Cars Land attractions and utilizing the queue space in that space from the moment the park opens to the moment the park closes. It's going to be very, very popular no matter what they do there. Whereas the riverboat, some days it's open, some days it's closed. Some days there's 10 people on that boat for a 10-minute ride, and sometimes it's 50 people.
yeah,
Just because you can shove so many people on that boat or have so many people going back and forth on the rafts of the island doesn't mean that people are using that significantly every single day. So I think that's a good way of kind of looking at this and looking at it from more of a holistic approach from overall what the company
yeah.
is doing. They're investing money. Now I'm kind of excited. Unfortunately, not all the money is being put in Disney World where I go the most. It's kind of getting spread out all over the place.
Just a couple other quick things. Free dining is returning or expanding and going further into the year, all the way through the end of the year, basically, with just a few weeks blocked out. It came out first as like a Disney Chase Visa card holder opportunity, but it turns out that they're just getting like early access to it. So they had from March 20th to the 26th, kind of a head start. Everybody else will be able to book starting on the 27th, and it's kind of the standard details of free dining in the past. And then also our understanding is travel agents have been told that summer activations are going to be coming. I think probably by the time you're listening to this, they might be out already on March 26th. So obviously we're not going to be able to detail them, but I'm assuming it's going to be similar ticket deals that have been happened last year, but it might also be some more information about the summer offerings. So when the new Starlight Nighttime Parade is going to debut, when maybe the Mermaid Show is going to debut, things like that. But we'll find out. We're, about 12 hours away probably from finding out some of these things. But yeah, so it's, we know the summer's going to be a little slow, but even the free dining now is through the end of the year. So there's definitely opportunities out there for people that want to take advantage of different discounts and stuff.
Yeah, one thing that surprised me is not that there's a free dining plan. I mean, that's just whatever, and that's typically not even a discount at this point for a lot of people. But the fact that it's like throughout the year, I think that's kind of nutty. That's definitely new. Because typically free dining has been like August, September, and a little bit of October for the most part.
Yeah, that's when it started, and then of late it's kind of shifted earlier to cover more of the summer months. But now it's extending through into December. I mean, it's not Christmas week, but it's up through like December 20th or something like that. So,
as far as other like summer activations, I mean, they could do a park ticket deal. I mean, I think that could be a thing. I wouldn't be surprised if they did that again. You enjoyed that last year.
Yeah, the like 4 parks for $99 a day, that type of thing that they've done before.
I don't think we'll get anything crazy as far as deals. Like you might see the repeat of the 20 to 35% off discounts depending on level of hotel or something else like that. But I don't think they're going to be trying to do anything differently to entice people to come down. I think you'll get mostly your marketing push for all the entertainment that's coming.
Yeah.
Right. You have it listed here that the two shows at Hollywood Studios, the new nighttime parade, whatever they're going to be doing at Epcot for entertainment wise, maybe they're going to be adding a couple other things. But I think that's basically what they're going to be pushing as messaging.
Yep. Yeah, and maybe a little more on Test Track when that's opening. There's been cars have been testing going on that and stuff like that.
Yep.
So Test Track has been testing cars and stuff. So, and speaking of Epcot, they also did announce a little more details about the lounge that's going to be coming. That's in the former, I think, corporate sponsor lounge behind Spaceship Earth. They gave that the name. It's going to be called Geo 82. 82 being the year that Epcot opened, and Geo, geodesic dome for a Spaceship Earth. The interesting thing about it, though, is that they announced that it's going to be by reservation only, and you have to be 21 or up to go in. So no kids are allowed, which I think it's the first. I mean, there's some restaurants, like I think Monsieur Paul has an age limit and stuff like that, but Trader Sam's after 8 p.m. you have to be 21.
Yeah.
But there's not a lot of age limit things at Disney. And for this to be inside a park and say, sorry, you can't take your kids in here, is interesting. I'm not against it. There's plenty of other places to take your kids and still get a drink and that sort of thing. I hope it's not the new norm. I don't want like all these things to start coming. They have the Pirates Tavern. They've showed in the concept art kids in there and stuff like that. I think all those highly themed bars will still be for everybody to go to, but I don't think it's the worst idea, especially in Epcot, to have a place that adults can go and recharge a little bit and get away from kids. But we'll see.
I mean, I think it's a good idea. I mean, it's a lounge. It's going to be a place where you can get cocktails and hang out and have. I mean, it's a bar, right?
Yeah.
If space is limited, they don't want people going up there just to have a couple drinks while their kids run around too. Because I think they want to maintain a certain level of atmosphere when you're in there. Because it's all about like having a drink and watching the park, watching the illumination and everything else like that. So. I have no problem with this. I think it's a good idea. I think there should be some places where it's adults only, because everywhere else is basically, kids and adults.
Yep.
It'd be interesting if there's a place for kids only, and you got to drop them off, right?
Well, that's why I joked. What they should do is they should turn the Wonders of Life Pavilion into like a play area where you can check your kids in, and just leave them inside
so they
the
can't
gate,
escape.
Like you get like the kids club on the cruise line or something like that, and then you can go and check out the adults only bar.
Up is if you have a stamp from each country with an adult beverage.
You have to complete the drinks around the world to get your kids back.
Yes.
That would make the news.
That'd be a terrible idea.
That's hilarious one. All right, I think that's it for the quick hits. So I don't know if you had any construction updates. Otherwise, we can get into the grading the additions.
Yeah, I've got a couple. Again, very late week. I'm just scrolling down to get to them. Magic Kingdom, no updates at this point. There's a couple like Emporium updates. The walls going up, coming down, different pathways. I think there's something towards like Adventureland or towards Casey's that's kind of closed. But nothing really worth talking about, even though I just did. In Tropical Americas, I think it was either Scott Gustin or Alicia Stella verified that the parts from Triceratops Spin will be used around property at other spinners, but not like they're basically going to go off into parts for other attractions. It's not going to be moved to somewhere else. And I believe that they're going to save the cars for like just as a preservation type of thing.
Yeah, it was Alicia. She was able to confirm that, and she said, they'll archive or maybe they'll show up, and I'm sure they'll be behind the scenes for Run Disney races when they have ride vehicles and stuff like that.
Yep.
And like you said, they'll be using the parts for other things. I believe Magic Carpets of Aladdin is the exact same mechanism and stuff like that. So I'm sure they'll use that for duplicate parts and stuff like that. Because everyone else was joking like, oh, they're actually going to use like, if a carpet breaks, they'll like put like the Triceratops leg to fix it or something like that. All of a sudden it's like a mixture of the two things.
One of the things that we found out what's going on in Canada after all the scrims have been going around for the last couple of years, they're building a welcome home center, which is, I guess, is the first one in the parks. And they're going to have room. What did they say? A room example. I don't know what the term was.
Yeah, they're going to have they're going to have a model of the island tower and I guess like a setup of the room or something like that. So you can kind of see it. It's just going to be a fancier, highly themed sales office for selling DVC, which obviously that's a big moneymaker for them, but I think it's a little disappointing when everyone was hoping for something a little bit more exciting with all the work that I
wasn't expecting anything.
Yeah.
That was exciting. Hollywood Studios got a couple things. There's a permit that had the address that's right around Star Tours. I didn't do any digging into this. It could be simple as changing some set pieces around. There are new missions in there, so maybe they're kind of adjusting some things or adding some things.
Yeah, and
I'm
then
not expecting.
I think some people are speculating the address could also qualify for Tatooine traders, so it could be some work there or something. We don't know, but
I'm not excited about this. I don't think this is much.
I don't think it's gonna be anything big.
Yeah. So there's also scrims going up on the other side of the park for the villain show coming this summer. So that's finally you're seeing some like external changes there. So I think that's kind of cool. And there's a crane showed up at the Contemporary. I guess they're probably just doing some roofing work. I don't think it's anything, whatever. I think it's just general maintenance and stuff like that. But those are all the updates. Nothing really special. Again, a lot of things going on in Tropical Americas, but it's like a lot of site prep stuff that's not really worth talking. So keep your eye on Blog Mickey or WD Magic where they have different pictures, or some of the member of the forums are kind of getting the camera up there taking pictures. So if you want to see like a pile of dirt getting moved or maybe some concrete get ripped up, you can find some pictures throughout the week. So I'm not going to put those in there, but those are, if you like following that stuff, keep an eye out on some of those threads because the stuff's definitely out there. But that's it. That's all the construction updates.
All right. So let's move on to our main topic, which is grading the editions since the start of our show. As a reminder, our first show was on March 20th, 2020. So that was right after Mickey and Minnie's Runaway Railway opened. So that won't be on the list. And I tried to keep things as at least semi-significant. So if it was just like a new character showed up at Galaxy's Edge, I didn't count that. And I didn't include like the shifting from Genie to Genie Plus to Lightning Lane to things like that. That's not really an addition. So these are sort of like new things that were added. So some are bigger than others. Obviously, there's things like Guardians of the Galaxy, but there's also some smaller things too. And we will just grade sort of our thoughts on how good they are, how big the impact is, and that sort of thing. And then at the end, we'll rank them and I'll share that around with kind of like, what do we think were the most important additions since we started the show. So, and just as a heads up, there are 19 of them in my list. So I think do this a little quick.
Are we gonna average our two scores, or are we gonna add them together?
Oh,
like a raw number.
I figure we'd average them.
We're doing this 1 to 10, right?
Yeah, 1 to 10. We'll try to come up with one number on behalf of us. I think for the show.
Oh, we're gonna try to agree on a number.
Either agree, or I guess just if we can't agree, then we'll average them.
I like that we have to come to an agreement. That means we have to haggle with each other in case we disagree.
So 1 out of 10. Yeah, 1 out of 10. 10 being the most impactful, the biggest thing, greatest thing. 1 being either like bad or just not worthy of it. So
okay, are we grading this on like just an overall score that's a combination of like personal enjoyment, impact to the park, impact to whatever, just kind of, or arbitrarily picking some stuff and putting a number on it? Okay,
exactly.
Fair enough. I like it.
So the first one is the Cake Bake Shop that came to that opened on October 24th of last year. 1 out of 10. I think it was nice to see something open up on the boardwalk. I know people like the food and stuff like that. I can't say this is a huge addition, but I'll give it like a 3.
See, I would generally agree with you if you take it for its own right, but I'll agree with you for the sake of argument, but I say you could probably go to like maybe a 4, if not a 5, only because it raised the conversation of how out of touch Disney is with pricing. So it's a contributing factor to that overall conversation. But did it have any major impact? No, it was just another.
It is like one of the first times I can remember something announcing pricing and then reducing them after after feedback to that.
But like overall, it's a restaurant that's overpriced.
And I should have mentioned I listed everything out and then I sorted by alphabetical order, so that's why the Cake Bake Shop was first.
I was wondering what you did there.
Second one is Communicore Hall, which opened on June 10th of 2024. Obviously, that's something that's improved since it's opened, and they started having it there for the festivals and stuff like that. I know this is probably one where we're going to give it a higher grade than I think Diz Twitter would. That seems to really bash this thing. It was nice that this was the last thing for Epcot to be completed. I think it's shown what it can be with some of the festival things, and also just a big place that has air conditioning and we can recharge your phones is something that every park needs. So, I mean, I'm not going to go ahead.
Are we just including the indoor area where there is the permanent festival booth and where the Broadway thing was, where the farmers market type thing,
Yeah.
or are we including like that whole building that was built there with like the Encanto stage, the meet and greet, and
Everything that opened with that. So that whole building, that
Okay.
whole the Communicore Hall. So that includes the meet and greet and the Encanto thing, but just that part, not the rest of World Celebration. That's later.
Yep. No, I'm with you. Okay. Okay, this one's kind of tough. So I am completely ignoring how long it took to build. Because
Yeah.
in 5 years, no one's going to care that it took an extra 2 years to build or whatever.
Right.
It's just,
No.
It's just been there for 5 years,
Yep.
right?
No, I think we should take that with everything.
Yeah. So I like the festival area. There's 2 festivals in a row where I think they did a good job of putting something in there. I haven't done the meet and greet there, but I like that there is an option for character meet and greet there for my kids. I'm probably going to bring my kids to that because we didn't do that. Actually, no, this opened up in June of 24. That means I have not brought my kids there for any of this stuff. So definitely bring my kids there to see like the Fab Five. We have a couple achievements to find Mickey, get pictures with Mickey. So this is a good place, or the Fab Five. So it's a good place for all of that.
Yep.
I'm not a huge fan of the Encanto or just that stage area. I think it could have been designed better. And it's not a really good viewpoint from the center of World Celebration. It's kind of like above and behind some stuff.
You have to kind of
Cool
seek
if
it
it's
out a
more
little
included.
bit.
Yeah. So that has a downgrade for me. So I think overall, to me, it's either a 6 or a 7. I think.
All right. I was thinking
Overall,
5 or
kinda
6,
like
so
it.
maybe I think we'll go 6.
Go 6.
Yep.
Yeah, I like it.
The next one is the show Enchantment, which came out on September 30th, 2024, which obviously is no longer around. So what did we think of Enchantment?
I thought the show sucked. Excuse my language. It was terrible. It was not good. It got better with the addition of Walt at the beginning of it, so I'll give it credit for that. Are we judging Enchantment based off that's final, or the fact that it's that version for a very long time before Walt took over and then they got rid of it?
I think we can include both because that ultimately was something they added to it, but I think the fact that they felt they needed to add something to it probably says something about it, and the fact that they replaced it so quickly, or to bring back Happily Ever After.
I'm giving this a 2 because it was a reminder of the failed experiment for the 50th celebration.
Yeah.
It was not a good show. It was definitively inferior to Happily Ever After. The fact that they brought it back so quickly, I have to go to. I mean, there's nothing about this show that's redeemable.
Yeah, it's one of those things where I think if you had never seen a Disney show before, this was the first thing you saw, it'd be like,
it'd
good.
be fantastic. Yeah.
But like all the things that you said for why they knew they had to change it up and then changed it out anyway, I think it's pretty telling. So yeah, I'm fine with it too. The Figment meet and greet that was added on September 10th of 2023. Nice little addition. It's nice to see Figment actually in there. It's got some funny gifs of him tripping and stuff like that, so that's always fun. I don't know. It's a new addition. It's nice to have something new. He's obviously a park icon and stuff like that, but it's also not moving the dial very much. I mean, even like we talked about earlier, Bob Iger was like, he's worth more than this. Well, it's like, well, that's what you did with him recently. So
I don't know. What do we grade something that's like cool, but inconsequential, does nothing for that area of the park? I totally forgot about that.
Yeah.
Meet and greet is there. There's no social media presence with it. We don't see people taking pictures with him and posting in different places. I mean, I have to give it a 1 just for its impact score alone. Even though it's cool, there's nothing wrong with it. It's great that they add it. It's just a character meet and greet in an empty shell of a building that has had no impact.
Yeah, I mean, I was thinking a 1 or 2, just because it was like an addition and something people have been asking for a while. That was kind of making me think
give it a 2. That's fine.
Yeah, so let's go 2.
I'm okay with that.
The next one, the Galactic Star Cruiser, which came out on March 1st, 2022. Obviously very divisive amongst the community, especially amongst people who have either done it or not done it.
Yes.
So I think that this is definitely one you could look at from a lot of different directions. Even though I never did it, I do think it got a lot of attention, and it sort of, I want to recognize Disney kind of taking a big swing, right? Like that they went for it. And, everything I've heard from people that have done it, the experience was amazing. They just was another sign of just Disney not understanding maybe the pricing market or what the market would be willing to bear. So personally, I want to give it fairly high, like a 6 or a 7, but I don't know what your thoughts are.
This is tough because if we're just grading it, because I've never done it, obviously, or we would have been talking about this more. If we look at it, there's like 3 different kind of categories for this, right? There is the art of it and the effort and the design that went on it. It's a 10, right? If we could grade it 11, I'll give it 11. From all accounts, this was a phenomenal experience that was one of a kind and we'll probably never see again. However, the business model of it was downright awful. Like that's like a 2, right? Because I think the crazily misjudged the appetite of the general public for this at that price point. So I don't think they should have done so many other things. Like they have all these sailings. We went into this. There should have been like a cheap sailing and then an expensive sailing. Different type of thing. So more people could get used to it. So I think that those kind of cancel each other out. And then the third little piece of it was their marketing for it was absolutely dreadful. And I don't know who was in charge of marketing with those really corny videos that everybody would just love. The ability that they didn't push this out to the marketplace, and the fact that this was on the heels of like the ongoing failure to expand the Star Wars universe to a newer generation of kids with the sequel trilogy and how poorly that was received for the most part. So how do you put all those together? It's probably a 6 with an asterisk saying like if you ignore all the extra stuff around it, it's a 10. But you can't ignore the fact that it's now closed and all this other stuff.
The more I'm thinking about it, the more I want to ding it a little more because I think it also needs to get hurt because a lot of the things that were promised to come to Galaxy's Edge then got moved to the Star Cruiser and things like that. So in some ways, its existence negatively impacted Galaxy's Edge.
Gosh, that's a good point. So let's give it a 4.
So 4,
It is such an interesting conversation to have about like the Chapek years at Disney. And this is basically the culmination of Chapek, right? It's a poorly received Star Wars product from the general masses because the price point of a person who's out of touch with the average park goer priced it out. And the fact that he had this most amazing opportunity to create a Star Wars experience where people were still super psyched to be immersed in Star Wars, and you took away from it to put it to this, boondoggle. So, I'm with you on that.
Yep. Next is Guardians of the Galaxy Cosmic Rewind, which came out on May 27th, 2022. So I don't know if you want to take this one first.
Okay, yeah. So one of the best rides on property, one of my favorite, outside some of the classic rides. Totally worth a Lightning Lane single pass. I will spend money to go on this attraction. Love that it's standby now. So if I want a day of just going on Guardians of the Galaxy all day long, I could do that. From the first time you saw that pre-show scene where you get transported up to the ship, the first time I witnessed that was like absolutely fantastic. I was not spoiled for that. And as it gets old, people kind of cry about it because it takes too long and everybody kind of goes to the side. You're all cynical dum-dums about it. Like stop and enjoy the magic every single time you're in there. I don't care if you've been in there 50 million times, like just chill out. Don't ruin it for other people. It's like the same people that want to recite the stuff in the stretching room. In the Like just chill out. Stop it. The only complaints that I see for this with some people is the fact that the show building is so big. I refute that you can't really see the show building from the rest of the park unless you're far away from World Showcase, and it kind of blends in with the sky. But once you're in that area, it's kind of hidden behind from a perspective point of view with the thing. So I don't take that impact. Whatever. I think Guardians of the Galaxy is a 9. It changed the center of gravity for Epcot, and I think Disney did a great job. And I do not believe all the people that complain about this that are old Epcot nostalgia heads like yourself that said this belongs in Hollywood Studios and everything else like this. I think it's a fantastic addition. I love the fact that it's like a country kind of in there. I love the whole theming. It's a fantastic addition in my opinion.
Yep. No, I'm good with a 9. I was going to say 8 or 9. I think, there was initial talks of, could it'd be even better if there were animatronics and stuff like that. So I'm not going to go 10. but I'm all for, like, I love that they kind of play into it, and Peter Quill talks about how he like wants to show everyone horizons and things like that and stuff which don't exist anymore. Like I don't know, I like all that stuff. I think they made it fit. So I'm not going to penalize it too much for that. So yeah, I'm good with a 9. Next one is Harmonious, which came out on October 1st, 2021. Obviously, I'm a big fan of this, much more so than the replacement for it. But it obviously was imperfect and had to be replaced for some legitimate reasons. And I give Disney credit for kind of eating the cost of it when they recognized there was issues with it. I really like the soundtrack. I thought that video they did on Disney Plus was amazing.
That's very good.
So to me, it's a really good show that just had problems with, I guess, execution or just staying, it couldn't last. So I can't give it like a super high score, but I'm like in the 6 or 7 range.
Yeah, so this is an interesting one. So, where do we start? Again, this is an example of the hubris and boondoggliness of JPEG, right? Originally, this was designed for the festival center that was going to be that elevated spot in, World. Were they even calling it World Celebration?
I think they were. Yeah, they were.
And I thought that's a really great idea. You built something that's designed for this area, but I would never have been able to either A, be invited or B, afford to go into that area for firework viewing. You got to ding it because you can only really watch it from 2 locations in World Showcase. So that goes down on for me on that. I love the music. I don't mind a Disney medley of music. Like, I'll sit there and dance with my kids. We have a great time, listen to different tunes in different languages. I thought the show was absolutely beautiful. I was never really offended by the big barges in the middle of the lagoon. A lot of people were upset that the sight lines were ruined or whatever. Yeah. I didn't really care at that point. They looked ugly, but it didn't take away from the awesomeness of Epcot. I like Luminous a little bit better, just because I think the pyro and the water look much better than Harmonious. But Harmonious was a giant spectacle, and I don't think we'll ever see anything like that.
Yeah.
In the short term. So I think I have to have like Harmonious was a 6 or a 7 for me. I think
that's right.
I love
where
the
I
technology, and I want to give it. Let's give it as I'll vote a 7 only just to irritate people that absolutely hate the show.
That's good. I was between 6 or 7. I was going to round it up to the 7 because of that Disney Plus show for it. So if you're good with a 7, I'm good with a show. We'll get to Luminous in a second, but the first in between there's one with a J, and that is Journey of Water, inspired by Moana. This is another one we probably have to not factor in how long it took to build. It opened on October 16th, 2023, and is a very unique element in Epcot. It's very different than almost everything else Disney's building now, which seems to be a lot of e-tickets and that sort of thing. Everyone always says how there's no water. They took all the water out of Epcot. Meanwhile, there's a whole
put it all over there.
Yeah. I think it's a fun thing to do. It's a fun walkthrough. Parks need more things like this. It kind of has some of that edutainment element Epcot's known for with the water cycle, but does it in a fun way. It invites exploring and discovery, which I think is what Epcot's supposed to do. So to me, it's very Epcot-y. So obviously I love it. It's also not Guardians of the Galaxy or whatever, so I'm not going to give it a 9, but I think it's a solid 6 or 7 as well.
No, I cannot definitely not give it a 6 or 7. Like, I'm in the 9 or 10 range for this.
Oh, really? Okay.
Here's why, right? Like you said, not everything can be an e-ticket, right?
Yeah.
And we can't ding something for not being an e-ticket, right? I love the area in there. I love that it's a walkthrough. There's really no line to get in there for the most part. You're not rushed through. There's activities for the kids to play and do that sort of thing. It's a great break. You can stay cool in there, get misted with water. The only thing I could ding it for is really it's closed in for the rest of the park, so you can't really like see in it, and it's just kind of walled off, which I guess is fine for the most part. There's some fantastic pictures in there. I just think it's something that Disney built. You can't make money off of it, right? Because it's not a
there's no lightning lane or anything like that. Yeah.
And for those people that say that Disney's greedy and only wants to get revenue, you could just show this. They just built this. This was almost 2 years ago at this point, where this opened. and it's just a beautiful area. It was so well done, and I just appreciate it. Um, I didn't go my last trip because we didn't have time, but like, I always want to take a walk through here and kind of do something like that. So I have to give it. I would have to say a 9, not a 10, but a 9, only because this is kind of like a freebie for the parks, and I don't know if we'll ever see something like this again. That's just a non-lightning lane type of thing.
All right.
So to me, that has more of a, not that the fact that this has this amazing technology and it's amazing experience, but I think if you combine the beauty of the area, the fact that it doesn't cost money to get into or skip a line, that has an impact on the park, that Disney can still build beautiful things and not have to charge you a lightning lane single pass to get into faster.
Okay. I like it.
So you were at a 6 or a 7, you said?
Yeah, so maybe to go 8 or 9.
Well, you got a 9 is too away from you, unless I convinced you to go higher.
Yeah, I mean, you convinced me to go higher, so I'm definitely up higher. I mean, are you good with an 8?
I'm good with an 8. I think that I take that as a victory.
All right. Now we come to Luminous, which debuted on December 5th, 2023. Show I've seen a few times. I've watched it online and in person, and as I think most people who listen to the show know, it's not my favorite. I very much enjoyed the last 6 minutes of it, but find the first 12 quite boring. I do appreciate the different technology they use, and like you said, the water fountains work really well, and they have a lot of different things like that. It's just not a show, and the last few times we've been there, we haven't even bothered to watch it. So it's hard for me to give it a higher score. I know you like it. I'm probably more the outlier. I mean, I like that they created the new show. I like that it has original music. So I'm not going to give it like a 1. I'm not like mean.
Spit it out, Phil.
I'm like a 3. I'll give it a 3.
You are a curmudgeon. How dare you? I think that this has some of the best pyro and water effects on a property. Like the tech on it is absolutely fantastic. So if I was rating on a tech level, I would give this an 8 or a 9. I love the last bit of it, like you mentioned, the last song. I love the start, right? I love the introductions to the world and the pyro, stuff like that. I definitely agree with you. There are some boring parts of some of those songs. I don't really like the whole death and life stuff. Like, you could just rewrite a lot of those songs, like the duet that's in it. Like, I have a hard time enjoying that song because it's not a very good duet. It's just kind of, they're like 2 songs plopped up on each other. I think they can eventually rewrite a lot of that music and keep the show somewhat the same and improve it dramatically, in my opinion. Luminous it's funny. Like, I think I would, pound for pound, I think I enjoy Harmonious more than Luminous. But I have to give Luminous credit. I've seen it from all aspects of the park, so you don't have to be, at the head of the lagoon or sandwiched around Japan. So I'm going to give plus for that.
Yep.
If I gave Harmonious, if we gave Harmonious a 7, I would have to give Luminous probably like a 6, because I can't go Luminous is 1 point higher than Enchantment. Like, just to me, that's just criminal. Because I think Luminous is twice the show that Enchantment was.
Okay, well, Enchantment was a 2.
Okay, so the ceiling, the floor has to be a 4. I guess the ceiling is then for me like a 6.
So go 5.
If that's okay with you,
I can do 5. Angry. No, I can do 5.
Okay, as long as you're happy with that, Phil, you're not going to rebel.
Well, happy might be a little strong, but I'll tolerate it.
Show is not going to be our last show. That's just what I want to get at, right?
We went out on a bang over Luminous.
That's it.
Speaking of amazing technology and something that everybody actually has to have, Magic Band Plus was introduced on July 27th, 2022. Obviously, Magic Bands have been around for a long time, and they were a big part of, even you got them free when you stayed on site and all that sort of thing. But they announced the addition of Magic Band Plus that was going to have haptic sensations and do things and interact with statues and stuff like that. And my kids enjoy them. We all wear ours and we have them. But they're also, they definitely under-delivered what people were hoping for them to be, I think.
I think, I agree, because if you go back to our shows a bunch of years ago talking about this, we thought these were going to be like Fitbits. They're going to be like $100.
Yeah.
And they're $35.
Yeah.
Right? So I think we built more in our brain. But every time we go back, there's the add-in effect somewhere on an attraction.
Yeah, they do.
Starts buzzing. Do fun things with it. for the price point that we got, I have to give this like a solid like 7 or 8 or somewhere.
Yeah, I'm good with a 7. I think 7 because they're still fun.
Bucks.
Yeah.
My kids love it. My youngest daughter, for our last 2 trips that we've had them, she goes, "Dad, look, it's glowing, it's glowing," and she spends more time looking at this and like the fireworks show. She's like in awe of everything going around and looking at her wristband and all this other stuff. To me, I think that's great, and it's not as cool as like a wand at Harry Potter, obviously, but like it's a haptic thing that kind of gets you into it. I mean, my kids love them, so
and it does encourage, I think, some exploring and like kind of noticing other things in the parks, like with looking for the statues and things like that. And I wish they did more of that, like maybe related around the countries of Epcot and stuff like that. But I'm good with a 7. So the next one is the Poly Island Tower, and I'm lumping in Wailulu Bar and Grill. That opened on December 17th, 2024. So I know you haven't seen it. You haven't been there in person or anything like that. So I haven't stayed there. I haven't been in the rooms. I was worried about it when it was being built and it looked huge and that sort of thing. Once I got there in person, I very much enjoyed it. And I thought it flowed much better from the main Poly than I thought it would. I thought Wailulu Bar and Grill is great. It sounds like the new bar and grill that they're building at, Lakeshore, the new one, is going to be along the lines of this. So I think they've kind of like they realize the value of these sort of like elevated pool bar type things. I haven't stayed there, so it's hard for me to, and I know it's a lot of points to stay there and stuff, but I know Len Testa raves about it and the view it gets and stuff like that. The same words. Yes. So I think it's a great addition. I think it's still a DVC. It's not for everyone. It's another thing you have to spend a lot of money on if you want to stay there, but you can rent the points and stuff like that. So I think it's like a 7, 6, 7, something like that.
I mean, the only thing I could judge this on is, and part of it is in retribution for all the haters that were out there as this thing was being built. I'm like, you're barely going to notice this, right? Like, when I was there in November last year, we were on Trader Sam's Terrace to have a drink. We got you your Madame Leota mug at the time. You can't even see it. And I took pictures from multiple places. Obviously, if you were like far out in the pool by the beach, you can kind of see it over there, but you can't really see this thing. It's not this big monster. It's not like the tower at Coronado where it now looms over you.
Right.
But then that's a hotel, so in a corporate type of hotel
it's different.
Space, it's different. But no, I mean, I've never eaten there. I go off of your amazing trip report where you said you absolutely loved it. I go off of Lens, so I'm just going to go with you. You said a 7. I'll go. I'll go with you on that one.
Yeah, and it's interesting because you do definitely notice it. It's definitely there to change the sightline, but I think it's one of those things in 5 years it'll just like that. That's what it is. That's the view, right? That sort of thing.
You can barely see it as you go from the Grand Floridian to Magic Kingdom. You can barely see it until you're like wide out, and it's just part of the landscape.
And it did add another area to watch fireworks from and stuff like that. So I think there's some good value to it. The next one is Remy's Ratatouille Adventure, which came out on October 1st, 2021. Obviously, a new edition opened up in honor of the 50th in Epcot. Copy from the one in Paris, but is a trackless ride. Really added, and I didn't include the other areas, but it was also kind of that second courtyard that's part of the France Pavilion. I think it added a lot to that pavilion. It made it like kind of complete. It's a fun ride. It's not my favorite. It's not my favorite trackless ride. I can kind of, if we don't get on it in a trip, it's not like our trip is ruined or anything like that, but I enjoy it. So I think it's like, I don't know what to give it. Cause I think as a standalone thing, I'd probably be like a 5 or a 6, but what it did to the France Pavilion, I think elevates it a little bit more to like the 7 or 8 range.
I'm with you. I'm like in the 8 or 9 range. Right.
Okay.
And there's a couple of reasons why. The ride itself, like just from the moment you step on the ride vehicle to you leave, it's a fun experience, but it's not like Rise of the Resistance, earth-shattering experience, right? Where that's at that elevated point.
Yeah.
It is like a lot of people might dig it because it's a copy from Paris, but I'm not. You are going to Disneyland Paris, but I'm not going to Disneyland Paris anytime soon. So I would never have seen this attraction unless it was in Walt Disney World, essentially, at this point.
Right.
So I don't ding it for that. I think the people that don't like copies from other parks have to realize that other people aren't traveling around the world seeing these other copies as well. But where I give it high marks, like if this was just a trackless ride, it is one of my favorites because I like just the music and the smells and the atmosphere. I mean, it would be like a 6 or a 7 to me. But because the impact, like you said, in the France Pavilion, like the center of gravity for that park was shifted because of this ride.
Yeah.
The French Pavilion is absolutely phenomenal. I love going back there. I love the music that this brings.
Yep.
Considering all these things, I'm like at an 8 for this.
Yep. I'm good with an 8
for the most part. Okay.
The other thing I think it helps is it just was like another e-ticket for it spread the crowd, like for the rope drop crowd. And
I mean, the
stuff
center
like that,
of gravity changed for 4 years at Remy's until Guardians of the Galaxy went on standby just recently.
Yep. Next one is Shikasai, which is the replacement new restaurant in the Japan Pavilion that opened on August 28th of 2023. I haven't eaten there. My wife and daughter did and loved it. A lot of people, like a lot of the vloggers, seem to really love it, and it seems like a really great addition. It's a big menu, but it's kind of like what Epcot dining is supposed to be, that it's kind of pushing people a little out of their comfort zone, but still nothing crazy. There's stuff there. Everybody can find something they like. Reasonably priced, or at least you can do it for a reasonable fee. So I think it's a really good addition to Epcot. It's hard for me to give it like a 10 or anything like that because I haven't eaten there. But I think it's a positive addition. So I'm in like the 6 or 7 range for it.
So for our upcoming trip, I'm now 59 days until my 60-day mark. So the other day was 60 days to 60 days, which I kind of like. I have 3 lists that I currently have, and this didn't make it for whatever reason. I meant to put it on there. So I'm adding it now. That's why you see me looking at my phone or looking off camera. I don't really know too much about it other than people mentioning it. And my daughter just the other day mentions like, I want to go out of my comfort zone and try new foods when I'm at Disney World. I'm like, good. So maybe this is something like that.
I think this would be a perfect, because even like one of the really popular appetizers is like a fried chicken type thing, but it's like done in that Japanese style or whatever. So it's going to be different, but still, approachable. It's not like live eels or something like, super crazy. So
I don't know how to rank this. I don't know much about it. I haven't watched any reports for it. But the fact that the ladies in the house, your house, loved it, let's give it at least a 7.
Okay. Another restaurant or a couple more restaurants. I think I said 6 or 7, so we could go 7.
Okay, good.
A couple of more restaurants coming up. Space 220, which opened on September 20th, 2021. This one I probably would give a higher rating than a lot of people that seem to get so turned off on it by the pricing of it and just maybe not think of the food's worth it. I think it's it's another thing that feels very Epcot-y. It's not tied to an IP. It's got that unique way of getting there. It's just, the experience is really neat. It's just very pricey for what it is. To me, it's kind of like the definition of a one and done. I think everybody should do it once, but probably only once because of the cost, unless you can get into the lounge or something like that. To me, it's like a 7 or 8. I think it's a really good addition. I'm glad it exists. It's still a hard to get reservation, especially the lounge. Hopefully they, and the other thing I like, they do seem to keep updating the menu and changing it around and stuff like that. A lot of restaurants don't do that. So I think it's a really good thing. If it wasn't for the pricing, if it was appropriate pricing, it'd probably be like an 8 or a 9, kind of more in the 6 or 7 range, but I think it's more positive than negative.
This was tough for me, right? When they announced this pre-COVID, I was psyched to go onto this.
Yeah.
I couldn't wait to go there. It got delayed a couple times. People were unsure. It finally opened, and we were there. My wife and I were there for our first adult-only trip. Now I can't remember at what point of the year that we went. Goodness, I can't remember when we went to our first adult-only trip. So anyway, we had reservations for like Oga's at the time, and I just kind of couldn't get a reservation for 220 at all. And I was just kind of refreshing, and boom, I got one. So we went, and we went in, loved the elevator, kind of disappointed with like the screens of the planets. It was a little bit too quiet in there. It was like too like where you are in space, so you never
Yeah.
have to be bored with like boring space music. I absolutely hated the cost of the whole thing, like you said, especially since it was like a prefix menu where you had to get like for lunch, you had to get the entree and the dessert and everything else like that. I did not like that whatsoever.
Yep.
I will never be back. But my wife wants to go again just so the kids can see it. I'm like, I don't even know if it's worth spending $400 or $300 for 6 of us to go in there. And like, I'd rather go to any of the other restaurants where I'm enjoying the food more. Because the food is good, but it's nothing special. It's like hamburgers and stuff like that, right? It's not crazy. So that being said, I have to give this a 6 or 7 because it is. I would recommend it to anybody to try at least once. It's going to be expensive, but the experience is worth it. It's just you're going to be good after that. There's really no reason to go back.
So let's give it a 7, the same as Shikisai. Okay. And then the next one is Steakhouse 71, which opened on October 1st of 2023. I don't know.
I love this place.
Yeah, I think it's great. And why did I write 2023? I'm pretty sure it's 2021. But October 1st, it probably got converted the date wrong. Anyway, it's really good. I think it's the theming. What
meals have you eaten there?
So I haven't done breakfast, but I've done lunch at the bar twice and dinner once, the full dinner once.
I've only done lunch twice. I'd like to try breakfast there, but there's so many other things I'd like to do for breakfast. If we were going to spend money on breakfast, which we typically don't do, I would do that. Dinner, it doesn't really hold any interest for me as a family person, just because my wife doesn't eat steaks. Yeah. And so it'd just be her eating the Wellington one more time.
Yeah.
So lunch was good. We were there in November. I love that hamburger. If you remember from my trip report, I was disappointed with my hamburger because it looks smaller, but then we compared the picture I took in November to the picture I took 2 years before, and they were identical in size and scope. My only issue was I think they left my bun and my French fries underneath the heat lamp a little bit too long. But I think it's fantastic. I love the atmosphere. I love the pictures on the wall while you're waiting. It's typically easy to get a reservation for this one, at least for lunch. This is something that I would love to go to every single time I go to Walt Disney World. You get to see the Contemporary, you get to see the mural in there, you get to go on the monorail. Like a lot of cool things happen or give you an opportunity to do while you're in the Contemporary. So it's kind of like forces you to go on the monorail, forces you to be in the Contemporary, which is really cool. So I'm like an 8 at this one. Yes, if I gave Stace 220 a 7, this is minimum of an 8. You could argue that maybe I can give this a 9.
Yeah, I think an 8's good. It's I mean, do we go 9? Do we dare go 9?
Do we dare? Only Guardians of the Galaxy has gotten a 9 from us.
Yeah.
I'll give it a 9 because I love this place.
Yep,
I'm good with that. My own opinion. So there you go.
Well, it's our thing. So
yes,
your opinion counts. June 28th, 2024 was the debut of Tiana's Bayou Adventure. Obviously a big addition and a big topic of discussion in a lot of different ways. So I think it's probably hard not to totally factor out just how much it dominated, how big a thing it was. I don't think we need to get into the details and of that. I think more think just about the ride as a whole. I love it. I think it's well done. I think it's like it could use a little plussing, and obviously it could use to be a little bit more reliable. But if you go on and everything works the way it's supposed to, it's a really cool experience. So I'm at a 7. That sound right? I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, a couple of things. I have a couple of issues with this attraction. I think it's better than Splash Mountain, so let's get that out of the way. I love the animatronics on this attraction. I don't mind the quote-unquote dead space. There is space in there where nothing's happening, but it's not like you're going through minutes of nothing, right? So it is an issue, but I don't think it's a daunting issue. The one thing I don't like about it is the storyline is not well described before you get on to the vehicle. What am I doing here? What am I looking at? But maybe in the standby queue, it explains the story a little bit better versus the lightning lane that I just.
Yeah, I've done that. Through. It's a little bit, but it's still if you don't know what the story, if you know what it is, it makes sense. But if you went in with no idea, even if you went in the standby line, you'd still be I'm not exactly sure what I'm doing here.
Yeah, so I have to dig it for that. I have to ding it a little bit because now we have a version of Tiana that we don't understand why she's dressed this way because the show just got canceled. So there's that, I guess. I don't know if we can incorporate that, but more of a whole Tiana thing, especially
Yeah.
at 1900 Park Fair, where you got the Explorer Tiana. And why is there an Explorer Tiana now? We don't know. But I think overall it's great. So the only thing is, we said we were going to ignore the time it takes for things to build. This was up and ready to go quickly. Granted, there was issues with technology reliability when it first launched, even more so. But I'm going to say that's impactful because we went from I don't know if it was a meme or like a storyline where Disney takes forever to build things because we're going to talk about
Yep.
that one next. So we went from that, like Disney takes forever, they suck at building things, to like, oh, Tiana's By Adventure was built in like earlier than anybody ever thought and like quickly and with, it wasn't sloppily done. And I think the electronics has to do with the weather that versus anything else. That being said, you said a 7. I could go 7 or 8 on this one, so I'll let you pick. You said
Let's
7,
go.
right?
Yeah, I said 7. Trying to think of the other things. So we gave Journey of Water an 8. We gave Guardians of the Galaxy a 9. Remy's an 8. Do we think this is equal to like Remy, or is it a step down? We think.
The only thing that Remy has over Tiana is that Remy changed the center of gravity for the park. Tiana's didn't.
Yeah,
in my opinion, because Splash was there. That was a super duper.
it was still
attraction
popular.
anyway.
It was, yeah.
So
let's go
that didn't
7.
change the
Yeah.
way the park was toured. So like, its impact wasn't as big as Remy's, I should say.
Yep. No, that's a fair point. So I think that's a good deciding factor. The next one is Tron, which was added to the Magic Kingdom, opened on April 4th, 2023. What do we think of Tron?
So I love the attraction, right? Like I love the launch point. I love going through the canopy up and over. All my kids really loved it. I think the value of the multi-pass or the single pass for it is there. Glad that it's on standby. I do not like where it's placed in the park because it's kind of hidden. I'd like to see it more prominently displayed as you walk into Tomorrowland. Tomorrowland's a mess anyway, so it is what it is.
Yeah.
The music is fantastic. The lighting is fantastic. People complain that the ride is too short, but comparing to other roller coasters, it's about the same as anything else. The height requirements, I wish they were slightly smaller, but I understand, and I only complain that because my youngest daughter was only able to ride 1 out of 2 times. It was so
Yeah, I know. She
was the perfect height. Where's a coin flip where
Yeah.
one said yes, the other said no. But I'm not going to hold that against the ride. But you have to take away a little bit of it. I know we don't want to talk about how long things took to make, but it became a meme, right? So
Yeah.
if you get memed on because of it, then you have to ding it a little bit. So that's not the thing's fault. So you could go as low as a 6, but I think you could go as high as an 8, depending on how you look at it. So I'm there with a 7 or 8. I think it's a fantastic addition to the park.
Yeah, I'm right around there too. I think it's a great ride. It's one of my kids. I think my son, at least, he loves it more than Guardians. That launch is really cool. Yeah, I'm in that 7 or 8 range. I guess we gave Tiana's a 7. So do we like it more or less than Tiana's? Do we like it more or less than Remy's? Guardians.
I mean, if we
Guardians
were
was
doing
in
half marks, I would give it a 7.5. But I think the meme factor puts us at a 7. I think.
Okay.
I would put it at a 7.
Yeah, and I think I think your point about placement and how you kind of have to like really get like once you're back in that area, it's awesome.
Great.
But like it's probably not as appreciated as it would be if it was more in the middle of Tomorrowland and that sort of thing. So yeah, I think it's fair to round down at least. March 23rd of 2023, Woody's Roundup Barbecue opened. It's another place I haven't eaten at, but it isn't a flat out addition to the parks. It's something that didn't exist in the parks. It has some cool theming elements and stuff like that to it, although no characters. I know it seems like everyone who eats there really likes it, likes the sides and stuff like that. I can never bring myself to have such a heavy meal and take that much time out. Like, I don't know, the last thing, I can't imagine eating all that barbecue, all those sides when it's all you care to enjoy, and then go and do like Tower of Terror and stuff like that. So
here's the thing. We had this conversation. I had this conversation with you 3-4 weeks ago where I came to the realization your Disney World vacations have always been limited. They've been short stints, or you've gone one park, one day each, and that's it. And I understand we're like, I can't take the time. Like, as soon as you said it, can't imagine taking the time to do this. And I'm like, I can, because I'm going to the parks for more days.
Yeah.
Typically with hoppers and everything else. I really wanted to go here on our upcoming trip, but we've been doing all of our dining reviews, reviews, I guess.
Yeah.
Trying to determine, what's on the list, what's off the list. And this one did not come out really well. It seems very loud. It's very pricey for what you're getting.
Yeah.
Not everybody in the family is a fan of barbecue. My wife's a vegetarian, even though they have vegetarian options. So I think I haven't eaten there, so I can't give this a fair thing. So I give it credit for a good place to get a meal at Hollywood Studios that was severely lacking good dining options. So that's definitely a plus. The food is generally liked by almost everybody that I speak with. No one really complains that it's too pricey for what you get, because you do get a lot of food.
Yep.
And the quality of the food is good. I think you have to put this again in like the 6 to 8 range potentially, just because impact for the park, in a park that desperately needed it. So I'd probably just go 6 or 7 depending on which way.
Yeah, I'm kind of rounding down. I think I ding it because it is the all you care to enjoy, so it's one price. I think if it was a la carte, we would more likely go, because then we could just split a couple sides and stuff like that. So I think that dings it a little bit, and it's just like you said, it's like you're making all these lists. A couple times we've gone, I asked the kids if they were interested, and it was kind of like, not against it, but not, there's a lot of other things they'd
You're not
rather
hyped
do.
for it either.
Yeah, so I think it's hard for me to give it a super high. So I think 6 is fair.
Okay.
And then our last one is All of World Celebration, which opened on December 4th of 2023. They got it in. I know they said it would open that year, and they got most of it done and opened. All the walls came down. It's also another hard one to judge, because it's hard to not take into account how long walls were up and stuff like that.
True.
But I think it's a really lovely space. It's an area you can just chill. Like we were saying before, this is something that Disney's not getting return on investment direct on this. You don't sell lightning lanes to it or whatever.
Yep.
I do think it's less than what it could be, or what, originally was promised and that sort of thing. So I do think it gets a little dinged for that. Or at least I would. But I think it's a lovely space, and I wish it was a place I spent more time in. It's hard sometimes when you're on a shorter trip to spend a lot of time here.
Yep.
But it's great during the festivals, and you can grab some food. There's a lot of seating area, which is lovely. It has the statue of Walt. It has different areas with different types of seating and stuff like that. So I think I'm kind of at the 7 or 8 range. Probably can't go higher than that, just because I think it could have been better and took so long and stuff like that. But that's kind of where I'm at.
Shout out to Matt for his. I don't even know what he calls a segment, but like he goes after curmudgeons for different things, right? Like, so the curmudgeon factor for this part of the park is like the highest of everywhere.
Yeah.
People are constantly complaining. People call this like, this is just a corporate park. It's lame. I'm like, I don't know what corporate parks you're going to that have like lighting packages and their own theme songs. So you're dumb. This is one of my favorite parts on property. Like, I have to give it, to me, I'm like, I start at a 10 for this, and then I come down to earth and I try to factor in some realistic things, right? So like the lighting packages at night, amazing. The view of Spaceship Earth right there, absolutely phenomenal. The fact that everybody wants a fountain there for whatever reason, I think it would detract from everything that's going on there. I love the Walt statue. I love how there's like little meet and greets kind of tucked away. I love that when you're in that area, the rest of the park kind of just goes away a little bit. They're like, the crowds stay away from it. They walk around it, but not walk through it. So I think Disney did a very good job of like keeping people diverted away from this, or they come up to the center towards where the planter is, and then kind of divert off from there. So it's not crowded like you're in the hub at Magic Kingdom.
Right. Yep. No,
right?
great.
That's what I'm getting at. There's a lot. Everybody has a place in the park that is either under maintained or broken for a long time, or just kind of crushes their soul. I was there. This came out December of. I was there the week after this opened.
Okay.
And everything was working and it was gorgeous. That is in my head what it's like every single day. Obviously, there's been many issues with the lighting.
Yeah, especially with the lighting and stuff.
Right?
Yep.
the fact that it doesn't work properly like makes me cry a little bit inside, because when everybody has got a place in Disney that just makes them happy, right? It's you can't measure it, you can't explain it. The vibes hit you for a different, whether it's nostalgia or just peaceful moment or whatever it is. For me, walking in there with like the Epcot music playing, the lights, Spaceship Earth, it's mostly at nighttime. To me, it's just feels Disney to me. I don't know how to explain it. It's just like I feel like the rest of the world is gone. I'm here with the people I love, and I don't feel like I have to rush anything. I just want it's the one place, because we've been working on vacation to vacation. We've been having our therapy sessions once a week for 5 years now, Phil, to find the vacation, and this is one of the places where like I slow down. Like my family might be like, we're going this way, let's go, and I'm like, let's take some more pictures and videos. Let's like hang out for a second. I just want to be in here. I just love the music. So what do I count for this? World Celebration, I have to say it's a 9 for me. I ding it because it's not up to snuff all the time. So maybe we can get back to a 10 if it's, I haven't been there when it's broken, so I haven't witnessed it. So I'm only going off of the pictures, obviously, that are all over the place with this. So I'm going to go 9 because it's my absolutely favorite part of the park. And I know I'm being unreasonably biased on this one. So I'll take the hit for that.
All right. Yeah, it's tough for me to do a full 9 when it, could have been more. It's had the lighting issues.
But what could be more about it? Like, what else could you shove into that space? It's not a very big space. So what were your expectations for that area?
I think there was just like the original diagrams had like bridges with water underneath and different places to go. It obviously had, the big, the pavilion type thing that you could see things from, and the festival center.
I think that would have been awful for the park.
See, I think that the architecture of it looked really cool. So I don't know.
The architecture looked like fantastic, but just imagine this big thing that's 3 stories tall, that's completely blocking the view of World Showcase from walking down that area.
It certainly has potential to do that. Yeah,
it would have been terrible. It looked great from like a artist rendering. I was excited. It's the big thing on a plate. It's elevated. It's very futuristic, right? But like ultimately, it's going to be this big giant platform on stilts that you have to walk under. That's going to block out the sun, and there's not going to be anything underneath it other than maybe fancy pavement and a big building to get you up there, right? Like, so I think practically it would have been awful, but visually I agree, it was stunning.
Yeah. So I don't know. I struggle to go more than an 8. Can you do an 8?
8? I think that's still high, right?
Yeah, no. I think it's high. I'm not trying to I think I started at 7 or 8 or something like that. It wasn't like I was low. Just 9 or 10 seems a little high. So we got through everything. Let's see if I can sort it quick.
This is why I don't use a Google Sheet index inside Google Documents for the show. Or you're using Excel. You're cheating.
I'm doing it, yeah.
Good for you. Okay, so once we get that, do we have time for... go ahead.
So our top 2, which I don't know if we want to try to do tiebreakers and stuff, but our top 2 had 9s, which are Guardians of the Galaxy Cosmic Rewind and Steakhouse 71.
It's such an odd pairing.
I know. It's like, how do you decide between those 2? We then had Journey of Water, Remy's, and World Celebration were all 8s. Then we had a bunch of 7s, and then trickles down.
Just the 9s and 8s are fine. We could probably see if we could post this on
Discord,
our Discord channel, so they could start.
And just to bring it up the rear, we had the Figment meet and greet was a 2, Enchantment was a 2, Cake Bake Shop was a 3, Galactic Star Cruiser was a 4, but that kind of has an asterisk, and Luminous was a 5. Those are our bottom 5.
I think people are going to attack us for our Figment take.
Yeah, probably.
But I'm going to again say it's because the impact to the park was so small, had less impact than a popcorn bucket. Let's just put it that way.
Yeah, well, I mean, comparing it, we gave a 3 to the Cake Bake Shop. That had a bigger impact on the boardwalk than Figment did on Epcot.
Yes, that's true. That's true. Okay, so we had a DVC engagement, Phil. I think we should, everybody kind of discuss theirs. Let's just go over ours really quick.
Okay.
Do you want to save this for next week?
I was wondering about, because I also partly didn't have a topic for next week, so I was thinking maybe we save this for next week. Oh, do you? Okay.
Yes. So
do you want to go through ours quick then?
how about we talk about this next week? Because
Okay.
we're already at like well over an hour at this point.
Yeah.
And I have thoughts about this that I want to get into. A lot of people.
Yeah, I don't want to
to
rush through this one. So yeah.
Yeah, because there's some good talk. So let's talk about this next week, and maybe this will be our one of our topics for next week.
Okay.
And then we'll also talk about this DVC engagement.
Okay.
Which is, what are your top 3 additions to Walt Disney World since the year 2020? So basically, what we just spent the last 30 minutes doing. What are your top 3? See if they kind of mesh with ours. We'll drop both of these on there. Maybe what I'll do. Actually, no. Well, this DVC engagement will start as normal, probably tomorrow, as we're recording this on Tuesday.
Yeah.
A little out of order. So we'll talk about all of this next week, and maybe we'll do like a double DVC engagement topic thing.
Sounds good.
Unless something other significantly drops this week.
No, I think well, we'll see what happens. Yeah.
As always. All right, Phil, did I forget anything? Anything we got to go over? It's very long show.
No, we did have a new YouTube subscriber, John Zobel. Thanks for signing up to YouTube. And if you're not on Discord already, please join Discord and
on Discord. And subscribe on YouTube, please. That's the only way we could grow. Oh, we were on some kind of silly marketing list that they found us, which is like arbitrary rankings, which is kind of crazy. All right, so everybody, thank you for watching and listening. Make sure you press all the buttons. Come on Discord, say hello, and we'll see you next week.
Take care, everyone.